I like to think of the great Napoleon Hill, and his what he said was anything the mind of man can conceive, he can achieve. So in terms of money, being unstoppable to me means anything that I want to do, I can afford to do it for myself, for my children, for my girlfriend, or my friends.
Welcome back to Unstoppable After 50. Today I'm having a conversation with Mike Lynch, who's a certified financial planner and author, and someone who's dedicated his life to helping others have a more secure financial future. This is an important topic for all of us, so stay tuned for an insightful conversation with Mike Lynch. Hey Mike, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Mike. It's great to be here.
Listen, I was looking forward to this for a couple reasons. You're a client turned friend, which is always a little dangerous. But more importantly, Mike, since I started this podcast, I've been very heavily tilted towards fitness and health and mental health oriented professionals when it comes to.
I'm always feeling bad every time I listen. I'm like, I got to go to the gym. I'm
Right.
skinny fat. I'm like, oh, my brain's probably wrong. Or am I generating enough testosterone? I got some issues.
Right.
I got some
Right.
issues,
Well, that was all intentional because I knew I was going to have you on. But I wanted you on because you're the first guest to really focus on the wealth strength that's part of being unstoppable after 50. So we're going to focus today on, how guys can get their financial strength built up and really for the long term. And one of the things that I've read a lot of what you've written and what you talk about, and I've heard you describe these three phases of life, sort of starting at 50 and kind of going out, 60, 70 and beyond. The go-go years, the flow-go years, and then the slow-go years. And I want to frame our conversation around those because I thought there were three really good distinct phases: building, sustaining, and enjoying, and all that. So when it comes to a guy that just say turned 50, what should he be thinking about? What's the mindset a guy that just turned 50 needs to have when it comes to his wealth, his financial security?
For me, optionality is very important. Freedom is very important. Independence is very important. So I always think in terms of financial independence. And for financial independence, I really think it's all about the income. And, here's the thing. I like that so much. I wrote a book called It's All About the Income. But by this, what I mean is that a person is financially independent when they can afford to do whatever they want to afford to do, when they can afford their desired life and not be dependent on work or perhaps only minimal work, right? So for example, they could step off the treadmill, they sell their business, they might want to keep working, but they're working for the fun of it, not half of it, right? Now, if we think, where are people at 50? Most people I see at 50 are probably 10 to 15 years away from it, right? But others, they're outliers. Some people have to keep working for others at 50. I'm retiring people that are 50 this year. That was their goal, and they're going to be out the door.
So when you talk about financial independence, let's go a little bit further because and that's, the other thing about this conversation today is it really is going to vary. For what one guy might think is financially independent, another guy might think, that's play money. But so we can't necessarily worry about that. But I think just the general concept, what financial independence means for me, Mike Capuzzi versus Mike Lynch might be different. What should a guy be thinking about? What moves should he be setting up in his 50s to be achieving that financial independence?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. What you say is very, very, very different, right? What's the definition of being wealthy in the United States? Well, you like this, Michael? It's making $1 more than your brother-in-law. That's what it is. But it's all about the relationship of how much income generating assets that you have relative to what you need to get through the month, the day, and the year, and perhaps special events like $2 weddings, perhaps, maybe down payments for houses, and all that other type of stuff. Okay. And so, one way that from a mechanical point of view that I always talk about, and I talk with my clients about, is to think of relationships. If we're looking at taking 4 to 6% off of investments to generate income, for every 40 to 60, $1 million invested in a 401k, investment account, IRA, cash value, like wherever it is, that represents between 3,000 to sort of $5,000 a month in spend, right? $3,000 to $5,000 a month in spend. So with that as a caveat, what I like to say is the moves you should make in your 50s, it's kind of like the old fire thing. Stop, drop, and roll, right? So the first thing you do is you stop and you figure out where the heck you are. You still got a long runway at 50, but you know there's more in the rearview mirror than there is up ahead, and it's going to be a good up ahead. But we want money. We want money for that road. And so, okay, what do I own? What do I owe? What do my investment accounts look like? And what nobody ever wants to do, because it's a pain, but it doesn't take very long. Go pull out your credit cards, pull out your checkbooks. You can do it in probably an hour. Is what does it take you to get to the day, the month, the year? Now, where are you now? What does it take? And then you can look at those expenses, and then you can look at your accounts and you can say, okay, one of three things. I'm already financially independent. Fantastic. And a lot of your listeners will be. I mean, you got a lot of athletes, you got people that are goal oriented. You know, personal finance and athletics are very, very similar, right? They're very similar. You set your goal, you work diligently towards it, you train, and you pretty much get to the goal. You pretty much get to your goal, right? The second thing it could be is, all right, I need to make change. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to get. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm going to get there. So I'm not financially independent now at 50, but I'm going to be at 60. I'm going to be at 62. And another outcome could be, holy smoke, I'm keeping up with the Joneses, but I'm not. I'm using too much of my income. I need to really adjust. And that's the harder part. Making adjustments is hard. It's like me getting on a physical fitness routine. It ain't easy, right? But for money, they just don't have any pills for that. They don't have shots for that, right? Like you have to do it yourself. So figure out where you are, where you want to be, and what is it going to take you to get there. Not heavy math. Most guys on this call could probably do it themselves. But if you want to get a professional, not an investment person, not an insurance person, get somebody that does financial planning that will work you through that.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that later on in the interview. But before we leave this, I want to just, maybe dive a little bit deeper. What are some mistakes, Mike, you see guys in their 50s making? So you already kind of alluded to that, having expenses, like wild expenses. But can you kind of pinpoint a few of the big ones you see guys that are 10, 15 years out from retirement making, that if they stop making, they'd be in a lot better position? Quick pause. If you're not getting my Unstoppable After 50 playbook, you're missing out. Every week, I send a one-page playbook with my key interview takeaways and simple actions to help you stay strong and in control. Get it free each week at unstoppableafter50.com. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're 5, 10, you're that time out from retirement. For many of us, it's our biggest earning years and our biggest lower expense years, right? We've been through the years where we had the baby expenses and the daycare and then the saving for college and then the college. And now the kids are out. If we've done our job, hopefully on our own, if we're not spoiling them, and they're making and all of a sudden now we have all this money, right? And so one mistake you make is at this point now saying, you know what, I'm there, I deserve to spend it all, and not saving it, not investing it. I mean, at this point, if you life is logical. And you take out what you put in. If you don't put it in, you can't take it out. And money can't work for you if it doesn't go into the account. And so a mistake would be not using those excess cash flow resources to set yourself up to be financially independent and free. And that's really the point at which work is optional and retirement is possible. That's the point at which a boss comes and says, we're learning this new thing. And you're like, I don't think I want to. I'll see you later, right? That's the point at which they say, you know what, you're getting on an airplane 5 times, 3 weeks out of the month now, and you're like, I think I've had enough of the frequent flyer lounges. You know what, I'm gonna take a pass on that, right? You set yourself up to do what you want to do. The other one I will talk about, which is a little bit weird for me. I work with a lot of young people. I wrote a book for the kids, as you know. You worked with me on it. It was for the grandparents and for the kids. And I like that. I like that. Believe it or not, I like that. I think that's a good thing. I think OPM, you got to leverage other people's mistakes and other people's money. But that is a young man's game, right? An older man's game, you want to keep your nut as low as possible. So it might be time to start paying off or down debt. Now, many listeners probably got these 2.5%, 3% mortgages. So that's a big exception potentially. But go figure out what an 8%, 6% mortgage would cost you, and now start saving that extra money in an account later on you can access it, right? So really, use this time, in other words, to set yourself up for the future, because you may want to get off that treadmill at some point.
Well, let's talk about that next phase of getting off the treadmill, which is kind of where I find myself. And, let's say it's that decade of 60 to 70, the flow go years where you're kind of in the flow of just really enjoying life. Like this podcast for me is just about, I want to do this. I want to have conversations with guys like Mike Lynch because it just, I learn stuff and hopefully I'm helping some others. What do you see, Mike, is sort of that big mind shift that is required when a guy is going from income earning years to now, leveraging the money he's made to create the freedom he wants? I mean, what mind shift do you see guys, really struggling with when they're in that phase?
This can be hard, right? Because you have to shift from it's all about sticking it in to now we can yank it out, right? It's easy to stick it in and it's fun. For a lot of us, for you fitness guys, you actually like working out. That's your fun thing. Time at the gym, you're all happy. You get those endorphins. I heard somebody on your podcast who's great. He's like, well, when you climb Mount Everest, on your hands, it's not exactly enjoyable, but you get a lot of satisfaction out of it, right? So you get satisfaction from it in a strange way. It's the same thing with money. Those of us that have a habit of investing, we like to do it. We like to put it in. We like to watch it grow. When it drops, we want to put even more in, right? And now it's like, holy smoke, it's time to take it out and use it. And what I say, either you fly first class or your kids will. You take vacations or your kids will. You got to use it, use some of it. So it can be very hard for my clients to actually pull their money out. They look at whatever their Social Security is. A lot of my clients still have pensions. So their pension and Social Security, and they don't want to touch their 401k. Well, RMDs are 75. Get it out in your 60s. Start using it, because you do run out of time at some point. And so I think that is ironically a challenge. See, here's the thing I'll say. The habits and disciplines that make middle-class American millionaires, which a lot of your listeners are, those habits and disciplines and attitudes prevent them from enjoying the millions that they accumulated. So I'm like a broken record. Get it out and use it.
I just had this conversation earlier this week with somebody. I know someone who's tens of millions of dollars in their bank account.
Yeah.
And they're older. And listen, he lives way beneath his means, and he and his wife are quite happy. They give a lot of money away, and but it's interesting. It's just interesting to see that he's still shopping at Walmart, and he's still getting cute. Now they're older, so I guess it's that age, it's that baby boomer generation. I mean, is that something? You've mentioned it, but is that really common, Mike? I mean, are you seeing that typically across the board, or are you starting to see it? Is it really?
It's extremely common, and I don't think that's actually a mistake, believe it or not, because I don't think spending money on something you don't want makes you happy. So again, another key that we've talked about is financial success. Spend as much as possible on the things that mean the most to you, and as little as possible on things that mean the least to you. And don't feel like spending more, it's going to make you happier. There's a guy who just passed away in his 80s or 90s who created the Hudson News that we all, buy $5 gum at when we're traveling through the airport trying to get to our next meeting that's burning us out, right? And I mean, he lived a high life for a minute. He was a billionaire. And then he went back, got rid of the private plane, got rid of everything. He flew coach. He didn't fly first class, and he read books, and that is what made him happy. So was he making a mistake? No, that was what made him happy. So there are issues with that, however, which is now you got this pile of money and all the things that made you successful. Now where's it gonna go? And what's it gonna do to those people? And don't think it's all good, right? Don't think it's all good. Like with Americans, mark my words, you heard it here first, Capoose. You can go out and put this one out there, and 10 years from now, it's true. We're creating middle class trust fund babies in this country because of the 401k. Our retirement system is so good because the pension got lost. The 401k is making people wealthy. See, pensions give you, I say it's all, okay, Lynch, you started saying it's all about the income. It is all about the income. But it's better if the income's coming from an investment account than a pension. Oh, I love it. I know you love your pension. I know. Don't get mad. But when you die, the investment account goes somewhere else. The pension's gone, muerto, dies with you, right? And so this is a first generation where the 401k came in and people put it in, put it in, put it in. They do not spend it down. They take the interest, they take the gains. You're going to die with a bigger retirement plan. My prediction, you're going to die with more retirement money than you started retirement with, even if you do everything you want. That money is going to future generations. And this is a big thing that we really need to think through. How do we want to control this money? What do we want it to do? And what's it going to do? What's it going to do in this world? And so it's tough. I don't know. I have questions, but not all the answers. I have some solutions. But
let's dive down. If you don't mind, let's take a left turn for a second. Because yes,
sure.
You just did publish a book where it was a 2-book set. One was for the grandparents and one was for the grandkids. Mm-hmm. So a very interesting concept about saving money and building wealth, et cetera. But you said something earlier about we're building a generation, or we will be building a generation of these 30-something trust fund babies. Why? What's the big deal about that, Mike?
Well, I guess maybe 30-something is not a terrible thing. And, whether it's trust or not, I actually think they should have trust. I think their money's actually not going to be in trust. But ask yourself this question, Mike. You have daughters that are in their early 20s, and they're successful. They've gone through school. They've been great. Would it be good for them to get a couple mil now? No, they were girls. Now, think he had 2 boys. Would it be good for those boys to get all that money now? No, I know we're men, but think, guys, the good thing about being men is we never really grow up. So we're like the same now that we were when we were 18. So is it good? Come on, the answer to that, right? Now, you got daughters. So what happened, so anyways, I think the things that make us successful is struggling. When you talk to people, we had all your guests on here and your listeners, and we said, tell us about the good times. They're going to be the hard times. It's all stories about getting going, making it happen, right? Working 14-hour days, like, going to the cheap happy hour. You could get $1 beer and, half price apps at Chili's. And then salt goes, this is it. This is the thing. So it's good that we have this. Don't think it's bad, but I think it does need to be thought through, because we all know wealthy kids with trust funds. And we say trust fund, baby, it's not a good thing, right? We know. And I saw it because in early life, I didn't grow up this way. I grew up in a construction family. So work ethic. We had to buy everything. We worked, and we're all, it's just great. It's great. And I try to pass that to my kids. But I saw, due to friends who went all private school, private high, and then, of course, private college, these trust fund kids, they had a really hard time in life. They didn't have to work. See, the rest of us had to go and get a job so we could get beer and pay rent and get a motorcycle and get a car and take a girl out. All they had to do was get the trust distribution, right? So not only were they annoying to go to dinner with because they'd order expensive stuff and then cut the bill, right? But they never got going in careers because, they were theoretically, I need a good job. Well, a good job for us, something that put money in our pocket, right? And we could take it out on Friday night. So anyways, it's not a bad thing. I love our retirement system. I wouldn't have it any other way, but I do think it's something that needs to be thought through. Look, I have 2 kids, and I have one special one, and I have I have a 21-year-old son, and he stands to, he might listen to this, so I'm not going to say nothing, but in what terms does this money flow down? What terms does it float out?
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
want
I
them to
mean, listen,
work,
that's a
work,
whole,
work.
it really is a whole other conversation. And it's an
Sure.
important one. And it's an important one for,
Well, you brought it up because what
uh,
you brought up was the people that have all this money and they're happy on less. What happens to that extra money, right? What happens to that extra money? And that's what got me up on this.
well,
That's
no,
what
no.
got me up on
I
this
think
jag.
this whole idea of people who get money without their own hard work and effort. I mean, listen, it's a reality.
Yeah,
You know,
we'd all
there's
take
ways,
it.
right? There's ways to be mature about that, but it lends itself to the conversation because there's a lot of guys listening or watching to this that probably had that situation, and who knows, maybe that'll be a future conversation.
Sure.
What your recommendations are there about not only protecting it from marriages and future relationships, but also
future
just making
ex-spouses,
it
my friend.
right. I mean, that's a whole other thing, but also just being responsible. But let's get back to the guys listening to this.
Let's go right
Mike.
back to the guys. Well, that's one reason is to spend it, boys. Spend it. Spend it. Tip well. Fly first class.
Listen,
Get
it's
the suite.
still, I'm in that situation to a certain extent. I like to save. I don't like to spend money stupidly. And what's
Wait,
weird,
how
Mike,
much
is
that T-shirt cost? That expensive T-shirt? Is that like what are you like on a Tech Pro
right.
T-shirt? It's like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
$5,000, right?
No, trust me. No. But it's still a mindset. Like I don't know.
You'd be outside your
it's
comfort
weird.
zone if you weren't doing it.
Yeah, maybe.
Me too.
Maybe. Well, the other thing, as before we leave this decade of the 60s, if you will, of a guy's 60s, is, and I don't know how much you consult or at least talk to your clients about this, but maybe the guy's not ready to stop working, right? That whole idea of retirement is even becoming it means different things for different people. I don't see myself retiring, but I also don't see myself doing the grind every day. Any advice there, Mike, or any just practical insights on the guy that's in his 60s and still wants to be, doing something?
Yeah, so one works fantastic. I mean, I'm a worker, so I'm going to work 70. My client, I plan to work till 7. I'll work later. I'll work longer if I can. And, we're blessed. A lot of us that have professional careers where we're the boss. I mean, I have 6 employees. So if I quit working, I mean, I'm going to have to, book my own air travel, get my mom flowers on Mother's Day, right? Get my kids gifts. Like, believe me, when you own your own business and you have staff, it's not like corporate America where, they say, no, we're not going to book your dinner reservations. All that stuff gets taken care of. So there's a lot of like benefits work. 2, there's the money. 3, there's all the social aspects to it, right? So if by all means you love what you do, and I think people should get to a point where they like what they do, keep working. But what you want to do is be independent. But you want to have money in your pocket so that if the wheel turns and you don't want to do something or you want to do differently, you can have the freedom to do it. So, I mean, the practical advice would be if I'm a doctor, quit doing call. Right? I don't want to get up. That's what the doctors would say, right? If be able to work, if you're a lawyer, work from home, quit being such a road warrior, right? Like all sorts of stuff. Earlier in my career, first time in business, I said, all I'm going to do is talk to groups, write books and article, and meet with clients. And then that's it. Everything else I'm going to pay to do. And now that's why I have 6 employees. That's what happens. And I meet with them and they get it going and they're working business hours. Sometimes I'm fishing business hours, but I'm working Saturday and Sunday. And, the book that you just mentioned, Michael, you know where I wrote them. Do you want to tell the audience where I wrote those books? Do you remember?
I couldn't remember because you were halfway all over the place.
That was it. I wrote them all at all-inclusive resorts. I wrote them at all-inclusive resorts.
It was sort of the running joke every time we had a meeting. I was wondering where you were.
Yeah, I got a suite. I can work from resorts. I can't do investment work if I'm out of the U.S., but I can write and I can Zoom. So I'm at a suite. My girlfriend, she likes to sleep in. So I get up at 8. I work from 8 to 11, 12, right? 4 hours. That's enough writing, right, Mike? After that, you start to burn out.
4 hours is a lot.
Go get yourself a nice little lunch, hit the beach, come in, So it's all about that. Now, what I will say, people who find themselves short, working can also provide a lot of financial security if you work longer, right? But don't think that you necessarily have to do the full grind or nothing at all. Because remember what I said, 4 to 6% off assets. So if you have a job, like for me, what would I might do? Well, I got a truck license. I like driving trucks. So one thing I might do is go drive truck, right? I like driving truck. Another thing I might do is go work at the boat dock, right? And if I worked at the boat dock, let's say I was making 15 bucks an hour in tips. So say I worked 3, 4 days a week and I was able to put like $40,000 in my pocket doing that with the tips, right? I'd be very tax efficient. Well, that $40,000 would represent me having $1 million in a 401k. Right? So in other words, a little work later in life goes a long way. And just because I don't want to build my financial life, $15 an hour in tips, doesn't mean I might want to end my financial life, $15 an hour in tips. I like people. I like it, and I like working. I like moving. I just went out with the fishing guy here like this, Mike. And he's in his 70s. I'm 56. He kept calling me young man and son. And then it's great. And then it's like I was 12. And then he's like, you have a lot of energy. I said, yeah, I have a lot of energy, right? And I'm taking him out tomorrow too. Why? Because I'm learning new stuff. That's what you do in your 50s, right? Paid the guy $100 an hour. Let's go offshore and fuss around and learn 2 great new things. Tomorrow I'm going inshore. So that's a good use of money. I got it, right? And absolutely, I'm perfectly happy to pay somebody for their accumulated knowledge so I can move up quicker on the learning curve, right? A good use of money. Now I pay it forward because I'm always taking people out fishing. And now everything I learned hooks other people up. The very next day, I took clients out and we had a ball in a boat. We're smashing the fish, right? Now, I didn't use any of his techniques that day. I used something else, but I could have. I could have if we didn't want to go to a restaurant. So anyway, it's all about working what's going to work well for you, right?
Yeah.
Work well for you and your life with your personality.
And I think what's
But
critical
you want the money.
Yeah.
When you come back to the dock, you want to be able to toss 20 or 50 bucks to the dock hands and not worry about why, because it works better for them. It's more valuable to them than it is to you. And the other reason is, then when you call up, I got a boat right for you. I'm in a boat club, so it helps. You get the boat, and they like to see it. Why not? Why not?
Before we leave this decade, if you will, Mike, do you find, and I don't want to go too deep in the weeds here because this is more like a psychological question, but do you find guys in particular might have a problem with that notion that you just shared of like maybe working for 15, 20 bucks an hour just to have some fun and earn some money when they were in their previous life, they were such go-getters, or they're comparing themselves to their friends who are, do you find that, is that a reality with guys that they're still unable to sort of remove themselves from that competitive nature just to sort of chill out?
I don't know if I have a large enough sample to tell you, okay? I don't. So again, I've never believed in good jobs or bad jobs. My grandpa was in Montana with me. We were at the kitchen table, and he's like, "You're smart. You should trade commodities." And I always want to be a truck driver. I have a truck license. It's always what I want to be. And I said, "Grandpa, I want to drive trucks." And I remember we took a drag of his cigarette, and he's like, "Yeah, that's good too, right? That's good too." So I don't believe in good jobs or bad jobs. I just believe different jobs pay different amounts of money at different times in your life. Okay. So a lot of my clients, they have other hobbies. So they want to golf. You don't want a job if you want to golf, right? I've had people. So I have few clients that have part-time work, but most of my clients don't need to. Like I don't. But some keep going. Ones will keep going. Kind of step down to almost in the hours in the fields that they always were, because what's happening is our generation, the 60-year-olds, they have a lot of skills, and especially in trade style skills, they didn't hire a lot underneath them. You know what I'm saying? So when the machinist goes to retire, that person, who's an older guy, is very skilled at working this machine, and they don't have the one coming up. What do? Well, they're going to give him a little thing. Now, I'll end on one other thing on this. I think you're like Mike, and this comes from I think it comes from Nicholas Nassim Taleb, the author of The Black Swan, and he says you can always tell the dominant male in the group because he's the one with the worst mouth and who's dressed the worst. So, because he can, right? Because he can. So one of the things about you working on the dock for 10, 15 bucks an hour and then pulling up to the dock in whatever kind of car makes you happy, maybe it's a Bentley, maybe it's a Mercedes, maybe it's a Honda, I don't care about that either, or going back to your house, is you're doing it because you can. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's the independence part. Yeah, that's the independence part.
So, the version of the dock, though, is this one I get with my clients. They want to be starters on golf courses. That's a version of the golf, right? And I don't golf, so I don't know. I don't think people,
Right.
they don't need it for the money, but they got something to do, hanging out, see their friends, right? Right. Now, I did have one who said at one point, might not want to work. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. I won't go into that example, but
Right. Right.
everybody's gonna be a little bit different. So, anyways, you do you,
Yep.
you do you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's move into this last phase, the slow go years, and let's say that's like 70 beyond, right?
I think it'd be
Mike,
later in 70 beyond, Michael. I
it
don't
could
know.
be. It could be
It's
for
kind of
sure.
once
But
you've been there, done that, been there, done that. Either you've been there, done that, and so you're content, or your health starts to get you, right? So, but go ahead, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Listen, I think there's this difference between like the 50s and 60s and those phases, if you will, if we just kind of delineating, and then as 70s and 80s are approaching, you're thinking that the clock is ticking, and there's just things you're thinking about differently. What are some things that you're telling your clients that are in that phase of life, Mike, that they should be thinking about when it comes to wealth, maybe wealth distribution? Just what general advice would you have for a guy at that phase in his life?
I think it's time to bring in the family. I mean, at that point, you know what you got, and is it shrinking, staying the same, or growing? You're not going to take it with you. You're actually going to a lot of funerals by then, right? Or so this is becoming real. And what I think my advice, and is my advice, and it's my focus now at this last 15 years of my career, is the thing I alluded to before about the middle class millionaires. Who's this money going to and on what terms, right? And really think through the issues and integrating. Hopefully at that point, for a lot of us, we'll be able to see down 2, 3 generations, right? You can see that, the kids, they're old, the grandkids, they're married and going, and you probably have great grands. So personalities, money styles, and really think, who's this money going to, and on what terms do you want it to go to them? And then you start giving it away, right? Don't cling, don't cling, don't cling. Make it a blessing. And by making it a blessing, and you can also then use it to transmit values too. You have a family meeting. You integrate your finances to some degree with those of your kids and your grandkids. I love one strategy I just love. I wrote it up, and then I've had clients do it. Anytime my son, he's only 21, he's got 50,000 in Roth IRA, and the reason he does is because every time he worked, we put the money in the Roth IRA for him, right? So my dad looked at it. I said, "Well, I don't do that. So do it for all your great kids and grandkids, right? You can do everybody's Roth IRA for them. Now you're boosting their thing. You're sharing money. So there's all kinds of neat little things you can do. You can pay for a college. See, here's another thing. You want kids and grandkids? Pay for them. Life is upside down right now, folks. When we're young, we can't afford our lives. Then we get to Capuzzi's age, my age. We got more than we need, and it stacks up. So make your kids a deal. Here's one. If you like the spouse, you like your daughter or your son, say, here's the thing. Have as many children as you want. I'll take the kids' costs. And what I mean by that, I got daycare, I got college. If your spouse wants to stay home, raise the children, then you're not getting daycare, right? Or if you want to, son or daughter. But I will take all the kids' costs. You get your retirement. And by the way, as a nice little kicker, you're going to pay a mortgage, but your mortgage will be based on your income. And so I'll put the down payment on the house big enough to where the mortgage is affordable for you, right? So I'll get you a house with enough bedrooms. Give me 7 grandkids. You'll have an 8-bedroom house. I got the college. I got the daycare. If private school is necessary, I got all the kids' costs. Your job is to be a good person. So you're not a trust fund baby. You're going to work. You're going to pay your bills. But that stress, you're not going to be limited in life based on this upside down life we've created in advanced industrial economies where kids are so expensive. We're going to go back to the agricultural model. Kids are assets. Yeah. Send them out to play. Bring in the corn, right? Let's have some fun with this thing here. So that's an idea. Maybe people can use that. People don't think about that. You do it.
there's a whole benefit of community and society that you
Ah,
could talk about there when you're bringing that
yeah.
family back together and you're not schlepping them out to daycare and all that stuff. So that's a whole,
Yeah,
yet
yeah, no,
another.
no, no, no. But people don't understand what they can do with trust. I got one trust I looked at, and it's very important for these people. They would stay at home. He worked, but always the most successful economic unit is one spouse staying home, the other one working, right? Because it's for a variety of reasons, and that's that. They tend to get wealthy. A lot of times it used to be the man and the woman. Now it can be flipped. It can be whichever way. But work ethic was very important, and they liked education. They're all college educated. They met at college, but they live in a college town. They don't like professors. Let's put it that way, right? Like it's pretty easy to be if you live around a whole bunch of professors to be like, oh wow, they actually were referred to as intellectual idiots. So, what did the trust say? The trust says for this money can be used at the discretion of the trustee for whatever the person needs. It can be used for one college degree, not two college degree, not three college degree, one college degree. Can't be a professional student, right? Um, it's not meant to support an idle lifestyle. Staying home and raising kids is not an idle lifestyle, i.e., it could pay what I just told you could pay for all that, right? It could pay for the kids and all this, but it would not pay for 50 graduate degrees, and it would not pay for people finding themselves. And it's at the discretion of the trustee. So that's their values. You can have that might not be your values. Your values might be you need to do whatever it takes to get into the best college and stay there as long as you possibly can, right? So maybe that's your values. You do that. But that's the point of this. So that's what I want my people to start thinking about. What's important for them? And different people think of different things. I'm a relativist, man. I don't think there's most of these things I don't think are right or wrong. They're just you. You do you. And as long as you're not hurting anybody and it's your money, use it.
Well, listen, Mike, I mean, you touch on a bunch of different, ideas. You've shared a bunch of wisdom here. And this is really just a start of a conversation, right? I mean, there's so many little things that we could go further down on at each phase of life. We don't have the time today, but if somebody is listening or watching this and they want to learn more about you, and I would highly recommend your books. Where can they get your books? Can you share your website, all that good stuff?
Yeah, the best website I think to go is my brand. Can you see the book there?
Yep.
That's one of them. It's all about the income. So the ones in the 50s, this is the book to get because this book tells you how to make yourself financially independent or know you are. It tells you about how to turn that assets into income, how much assets you need. So that's why I reference this book. My motto is simple and big. Keep it simple, make it big. Jerry Garcia said that from the Grateful Dead. And one of my clients told me he was a deadhead, and so I like that. So my brand is simple and big. And so if you go on my website, www.simpleandbig, and I think it is simpleandbig.com, you'll find all the stuff there. And I hope some of this was helpful. Like I said, I'm not dogmatic about any of this stuff. I think in big terms, figure out what's good for you. Nothing is perfect. There's always trade-offs. And also you don't know what always the consequence is going to be, right? Like we save forever and then we die early. So we ran out of it. But if we say everybody in our family died early and we're gonna die early, we're gonna spend it all, then you might not have any. So you just gotta go with what's gonna work for you and do it well.
Yep. And I would just put a plug in, not only because I helped you with them, but I really thought your 2-book set, the one for the grandparents, the one for the kids, which is a shorter version.
This is a good one too, for the stuff we talked about for intergenerational. So this one is for the grandparents, but the kids could read it. But when I got done with this, I was in Jamaica, Mike. So I'm in the suite in Jamaica writing this saying, and I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, I started this in Mexico. Then I worked out in Curacao, edited it. Then I finished up in Jamaica. So when I'm in Jamaica, I'm like, holy smoke. The kids aren't going to read a 180-page book, 160. It still like takes 3 hours, but they can do it. I said, okay, let me focus it a little bit more on the parents. And then there's somebody I knew came up with this idea called a shook, and I fought it forever. A shook. And finally I said, that guy's right. That guy's right. The shook. So I said, let's make it a shook. And so then what I did is I cut it down so it could be read in an hour, the same basic content. So for my clients, of course, I say, go get this book and then tell us, we'll mail this book free, right? So if you buy this book, and it's somebody priced it really too cheap. I don't know who did that, but I'm not happy about it. So it's almost free, in other words. And then with this one, we will send out for free and to our to people's kids and grandkids, and they can read it and go. So that's it. I'm passionate about getting going early. I really am because I know what it does. But I also know it's never too late, right? You can do so much good stuff in the last 10, 15 years to really build it up. I've done just chopped so much wood with clients that came in 10 years ago that didn't have a lot, and they ended up just piling it up. So it's you can always move. But yeah, Mike, these books are fun to do, and of course, it's very fun working with you on these books
Well, I
that's how we
appreciate
got them done.
that. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. It was good to get to know you. And real quick, before I end on my trifecta questions, do you work with clients? Is it just local, Mike, or do you work with clients?
I work with no local clients now, and there's a reason for that, Mike. What do you think the reason is?
I can think of a couple probably, but
No, I'm in Florida.
Yeah,
Because I like warm weather and I like fishing, and I built my business up in the Northeast mostly. But my business has always been national. So what happened is, with the COVID epidemic, people went to Zoom, and my employees are all, I'm in their 50s, my employees are in their 30s, having babies. They all wanted to work at home. So I guess they were right. They knew I wasn't in favor of it. And so they really made sure that I could never say these words. This would not have happened if you were in the office. They were definitely scared of those words because those words did get spoken early. And eventually, when it was clear they weren't coming back in the office, I was out fishing in the summer. I'm like, I'm done. I mean, I called up my business manager again, and I said, "Give me a place for 3 months in Florida." And she got me a place, and then I moved down here. So most of our clients now we're Zoom. I still like face to face, so I do meet with if my clients want to meet face to face, I do. That's mostly up our offices are in the Connecticut region. I fly to meet clients, and so and I travel a lot. But usually now, what's nice about this Zoom stuff, Michael, is you can see body language. You can get to know people because you see all the forms of communication. You got tone, you got the content, and you got the body language. So you can develop relationships on Zoom that you just couldn't develop in a letter or a text or on a telephone.
yeah.
And so yeah, that's it.
Well, good. So if someone's listening, they want to reach out to you,
Yeah, we're
by all
licensed
means,
in all states.
good.
And
Okay.
like I said, I have a team. I work now with a woman who's been with me for 20 years. I just had a client employee appreciation lunch this summer, two 10-year employees, one 20-year employee. And I got another one that's close. My investment guy's he's 8. He's closing in on 10. And so she's on the meetings with me now. And so we do a two-team because obviously I'm 56. Like I said, I'm not planning on retiring, but what if something happens to me? And also, I'm busy. I'm out of capacity. It's nice to have somebody else on. So yeah, we do a good job.
Good. I'm sure you do. And Mike, before we wrap up, I have my Unstoppable After 50 trifecta. It's
Nice.
three
Let's
questions, 3 quick questions, 3 quick answers. So
Go.
if you could sit down with a 50-year-old guy right now, what single bit of advice would you give him so that he could have financial freedom for the second half of life?
Here's what I'd say. Ask yourself this question. If you knew today you had all the money you needed for the rest of your life, what would you be doing tomorrow, in a year, and since you're 55, 10, and 15 years, okay? What do you want to do with your life? You only have so much time. Then figure out what that costs. Figure out what it costs and make a plan to go get that money as soon as possible, as long as it doesn't mean sacrificing all other important things in your life to get it, right? That's what I would do.
All right. What's something you see guys that are in their 50s and 60s and maybe beyond, what are they doing that is silently wrecking their financial future?
Well, I'm going to say procrastination is the big enemy of financial success. Living on someday I'll, right? Someday I'll put together a plan. Someday I'll pay down my debt. Someday I'll invest my money. Make that someday today and just get going. Same for fitness, man. I got to know right here, April 1, start workout. Like that was from April 1 last year, Mike. April 1 last year. Don't be me. Don't be me with working out, pal.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom there, Mike. And finally, what's one thing every guy listening could do this week? It's my Unstoppable After 50 challenge. What's something they can do this week to ensure that they will eventually be, or at least have the potential to be financially independent and unstoppable?
First, go back to answer number 1. Ask yourself those questions. What do you want out of life? What do you want to be when you grow up? Then put together your net worth statement. What are you worth? Own, owe, right there, dripping wet. Then go track all your current expenses. What is your current life costing you, right? Now you've got a baseline. That's the goal for the baseline. It's just like when I start my workout next April, I'm going to go out. How much can I do, right? Get a little bit sore, but not get debilitated. Get your baseline and then figure out how to get to where you want to go. So get going is what I tell you. Get going.
Mike,
the Goya principle.
The Goya. I appreciate this. Again, I appreciate the wisdom you shared and, your desire and passion to help not only guys, but just folks in general be unstoppable, financially independent, and just really, making the world a better place. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely, Michael. It's great to be on this show with you. I love your podcast. I was just so nervous after I heard about that skinny fat. I'm like, now, it's like, come on, man. Now I'm skinny fat. Now I got, it's all good. You're doing us a service. You're doing us a service.
Well, listen, April's coming up here. It doesn't have to be April 2027. So, but anyway.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm telling on myself, what can I do?
Hey, listen, there's nothing like that accountability. So, hey, Mike, listen, again, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks, Mike.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Mike Lynch, and hopefully you found some practical advice that you can take away to improve your wealth strength. Mike is a great guy. Check out his books on Amazon, check out his website, and learn more about how you can make your financial future more secure. And if you like what I'm doing here with Unstoppable After 50, please make sure you like and subscribe to the show. Go check out the YouTube channel. Appreciate you subscribing there. And also make sure you check out unstoppableafter50.com and sign up for my weekly playbook. Every week I send a recap to my group of men who've asked for it, a PDF that's designed to be printed and saved, and it's a recap of that previous week's episode. So check out unstoppableafter50.com.